You're listening to The Sports Fix.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck, home of the low price tire guarantee. quicklane.com/Valley Ford Truck.
Sports Fix listeners, don't wait all day or all week to get in on the fun. The party doesn't stop when we go off the air all week long. The Sports Fix social media sites are your one-stop shop for all things Cleveland sports. Jump over to Facebook.com/TheSportsFix, Facebook.com/TheSportsFix, and become a fan today because we love fans and they create some of the best sports talk in town, Daddy. You'll enjoy talking to your fellow Cleveland sports fans on the Sports Fix fan page. And if Twitter's your thing, well, you know how we do it. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix CLE. It's that simple.
Twitter.com/TheSportsFixCLE, baby.
Chat live with the crew during all your favorite Cleveland sports events, tickets and contests and trivia and so much more. Get with us today, The Sports Fix on social media, Facebook.com/TheSportsFix. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix CLE. Join The Sports Fix on Facebook and Twitter today.
I'm Tyler Zeller, and you're listening to The Sports Fix.
Live in Ohio, it's time to get your fix. The Sports Fix.
There we go. We are live. We are on the air. Welcome in, everybody. Tuesday, rolling along here. The Sports Fix on the air, rocking and rolling. Welcome in, each and every one of you listening in across the Sports Fix radio network. And that could mean a lot of things. You could be listening to the show on TuneIn and TuneIn's radio app. You could be listening live on the sportsfix.net, on Spreaker and Mixler, and in my Mixler chat room over there. Shout out to those guys. Or digital delay 24/7 on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, all of the various places and platforms to listen to the show. However you're doing it, welcome in, you guys. Thank you so much. I am your host, the conductor of the madness here, the big daddy on the microphone. J-Rock Jerry Myers with you here for the duration. We've got a lot going on today. Always loaded on Tuesday today. Even more so than usual, we've got Jeff Gorman from Indians101.com. He's going to join us just about 15 minutes from now, talking some more about the Indians, maintaining the momentum, keeping it going, picking up the victory last night behind Kluber Lang. Pretty much a bell-to-bell, wire-to-wire deal. Indians pick up the victory. They're now ticking just closer and closer. 2.5 back of the wild card. Now, we're going to talk about that with my man, Jeff Gorman. Hey, today is, by the way, the anniversary, 13-year anniversary of that huge comeback game. The Indians tweeted out some videos from it against Seattle, 15-14 in 11 innings with just anybody that remembers it, remembers watching it, how in the world did that happen 13 years ago today? We'll talk about all of that. Indians' latest as they roll on with Cincinnati. Final game of the homestand. Duct tape night tonight. So, Jeff Gorman from Indians101.com. Dr. Football Bill Chachkes, the doctor's in the house. We'll talk about the latest with the NFL and the Browns. Browns training camp today just wrapping up here. And for the first time, both quarterbacks here, we talked about how nobody had really done a whole lot to separate themselves. Again, kind of the same thing, only in a good way. Both quarterbacks look really good today. I've talked to a few people who were there, just wrapped up a little bit ago here. We'll talk about all of that. Josh Gordon and the latest on him, some of the different stories coming out of training camp. Jason Pinkston career probably over, and all of that. Dr. Football in the house. We'll talk about that. At this point in camp, does the offense make the defense look good, or does the defense make the offense look bad? I don't know. We'll talk about that with Dr. Football. All the latest with the Browns. Doug Plagens, speaking of football, they're getting ready for their season. I almost said the Monsters, because Plagens the Monsters guy. The Gladiators just keep rolling along now. One more victory away from bringing the ArenaBowl here to Cleveland. Doug Plagens is going to join us. We'll talk about the victory the other day over Philadelphia. We'll talk about the upcoming game, so much more Gladiators football with Doug Plagens, all the latest in the news, all the things that we do. And by the way, I'm even going to open up the phone lines here. I've only got very limited first segment here, and then we'll open them up again at the end of the show. So if you want to get in, you got to do it now. 216-539-7535 is the number to call. 216-539-7535, or you can hit us up throughout our social media, Facebook.com/TheSportsFix. Tweet with us at TheSportsFix, CLE. Email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. Remember, as we said, the website is your one-stop shop for all things Cleveland sports, all of our archives and all the different things you need, our social media, it's all right there on thesportsfix.net. Make sure you bookmark that today. And before I roll into I want to talk some Indians here. Obviously, Jeff's going to join us in just a few minutes, but before we do, I just wanted to, one of the things breaking in the news here, I don't know if you guys have seen it here, heard it, but Tony Bosch, the Bigenesis thing, the performance-enhancing drugs, the clinic down there, we've talked about this guy a lot. And, all the big ones, the Ryan Braun, A-Rod, all the ones that we've talked about, all kind of tie back to this guy here. And today he's arrested along with a whole bunch of his cohorts. A-Rod's cousin was one of the people that was arrested here in the raid that went down. And this here, I'll tell you, looking at how much he ended up entrenched. I mean, look at all the guys. I mean, A-Rod and Cruz and Braun and Cabrera and our boy Bartolo Colon. I mean, the list goes on. And that's of the people that we know about. I'll tell you, I wonder, and I could be wrong about this, but there's so much into this, so much documents and paper trails and different things. I wonder if there's more to come, like now that they really have their hands on everything, because up until now you've been dealing with, even though he's cooperated and he's worked out a plea agreement here, you're dealing with what he's been giving you, and it's different when you get your hands on everything and dive in. And as we know with freedom of information, a lot of this stuff, the stuff that hasn't leaked, will still eventually make its way into being into the public record. So you wonder if there's other people, and I don't necessarily just mean athletes, although that for the purpose of this discussion, that's kind of what I mean. But I mean, lots of different celebrities, different genres cover into this that were already linked to this guy before. But you wonder if hearts are beating a little bit faster this morning. You wonder if people are wondering if that other shoe's going to drop, if their name is going to come out because they were tied into this thing. I do. I wonder. I mean, I have nothing. Nothing that makes me know that, so I don't know. This is just kind of speculation, but looking at how broad of a spectrum that this is going to overcome and the number of documents that are going to come out of this, I just think, I'm curious if there's going to be anything else that comes out of this, people whose names weren't or hadn't yet been tainted with that light. Going to be very interesting to see what else comes out of that. But just think him, I mean, and obviously, the Bay Area, Conti, those two really part of changing so much of the whole era of sports and what we do here. We've talked a lot about the performance-enhancing drugs and all of that and everything. And I'm telling you, man, and it's still, for people that think, when you see things like this and oh, man, well, they're cleaning the sports up, man. I mean, I got to tell you, I'm much more skeptical of that than the average person is, because I know the reality of a lot of this stuff, man. Look at Tony Bosch. Look at the Bigenesis thing here. Not just they were providing cocktails for the athletes. That's one thing. I mean, and look at all the stuff, all the stories, Game of Shadows, all the different tales that came out about Barry Bonds and that whole group. The level of sophistication to it, guys. I mean, it's really at a complete molecular, biological level. And not only that, man, the level of sophistication of hiding it too, and the attempts gone through and what they do to hide from these things, which is funny too, because you go through such lengths, I mean, if you're going to do it. I mean, but then they go so far overboard to see some of the the lengths of that they go through to cover it up. Just lets you know that they know how much they're not supposed to be doing what they're doing and how much of an advantage it does give them. But when you see all that, for you to just think that it's all been cleaned up and pushed under the rug and everything's clean now, it's not. I mean, why do you think that the NFL, why do you think that there's such a pause from the players union in giving the go ahead on HGH testing and how, the public I think watching that is fascinating as they play that out and try to force in public opinion, force that situation to work out, because I truly believe, and this is not meant to taint anybody in a bad light, but I firmly believe that there's a truckload of NFL athletes that if HGH testing was not only allowed, but if it was effective, because they're still working on perfecting the ability to check that, because that's why HGH is on a totally different level than some of the anabolic steroids, and that's, you get into the designer stuff, the things that cannot be traced. And the same with HGH. I mean, although we've seen with some of the MMA tests that have come out recently and boxers that have gotten caught in the recent days that they are starting to get more sophisticated. But I'm telling you, if they did, I truly believe that not just the NFL, where else I think it would be highly affected by HGH and effective testing would be basketball. I'm thinking about something else. Basketball. Because I truly believe, people say, well, steroids, man, it's the opposite of what those guys do. And I agree. Anabolic steroids is. But HGH, the benefits that you get from that does nothing but go with what the skill set and the assets that would be needed to make you a better basketball player. Longer and leaner muscles and the ability to jump higher, stay leaner physically, less body fat, adds to your joints and the bounce back and the ability to play multiple games in multiple days and bounce back and be able to perform and do that. I'm telling you, don't believe the hype, because if they were able to, I think there'd be a lot of these athletes that would be shaking in their boots to take that first HGH test. And I know that that's why the NFL is fighting that so much. But I mean, just when you see this, when you see the levels as more of these details, Outside the Lines, of course, did tons of stuff on Bigenesis and really blew the lid off this stuff to begin with. And we know we've seen some of the fallout of that. But as more of that comes out, and if you ever take the time to read into it, or as I said, look into some of even the other stuff with Barry Bonds and Conti and those guys. You check those guys out and you see the level of sophistication. You would be foolish to think that is not continuing with different doctors, different everything. That's the best part too, is it comes out in this whole thing that he wasn't a doctor at all, which is everybody thought he was a doctor of something. Nobody was exactly sure, but they, figured pretty much. But no, at the end of this, it turns out that he's not. He's just and you know what? This reminds me too. We mentioned a few weeks ago when we were talking about Bernie Kosar, and one of the lines in one of the press releases about this arrest here today was about how they were giving various athletes various concoctions of HGH and testosterone. And so it's wondered how many of these guys knew that what they were taking was steroids, or were just being told that this was a proprietary blend that we put together and, this is going to, work towards your symptoms, which is what we were talking about with the Bernie Kosar story. There was the question of, did he even know, and do some of these other people know? And then there's an ugly side of that too, because turns out, okay, it's one thing. We're talking about big money athletes, guys that are making the decisions to cheat and to try to get that illegal advantage because financially it's worth it for them or whatever, for whatever reasons. At least we're talking about grown men. And then you twist in a different scenario when you look at, like we said about Bernie, if it turns out that he was unknown, because there's, obviously you got the Hippocratic Oath. I mean, you have to take care of your patients. And I think that's one of the most vile ways that somebody can be violated. It's like violating when the doctor there, that person is dependent on to look out for the guy, and, so you look and you think about the fact that maybe, perhaps, disgustingly, he was in the guise of giving you some, concoction that he created here, a special blend, like I said, some proprietary deal, and you don't know. See, that's different. I mean, it's one thing if a guy's going, hey, juice me up. I want to hit more home runs. I want to run faster. I want to dunk higher, whatever it is. I'm ready to take the risk and all of that. Okay, I get it. When you're unknowingly doping somebody up, especially when it's not for performance enhancing, but when it's like with Bernie, it was to take away some of the brain swelling and to lighten up some of the slurring and the symptoms that he was dealing with there. But go to another level with that, because they've got